Hello and welcome back to the Littlest Sewing Room. Today I'm going to show you how to thread the Willcox Gibbs high-speed lock stitch machine. So the Willcox Gibbs high-speed lock stitch machine is very different to probably any other machine you've ever come across or used. So this video is obviously for new users or people who are considering buying this machine, because I know there's an absolute dearth of knowledge when it comes to these machines. It's really hard to find information on how you thread them, how you use them. And to be honest, having read through the Willcox Gibbs manual for this particular machine, it's about as clear as mud. So I hope this video helps you all, and let's get started. Now, the first thing to be aware of is there's two different ways in which you can set up your top thread, depending on whether you're using a thread stand or whether you've got it in a more portable format like this one is here. If your machine has a thread stand, which would be set up just behind the machine or just to the side of the machine, then you need to run your top thread through this mechanism here. Okay, so there's a loop at the back on this part, and then there's a small hole in the center of this lever. Let me try and show you. So can you see you've got like a loop here, and then this bar has got a little hole in. Okay, so what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to line up this bar and this loop, and I'm going to be using a threading wire to thread this. This is the threading wire off my chain stitch embroidery machine. You can buy threading wires online, or you can even use a small piece of copper wire with a loop in the end of it. Whatever you can get hold of will do the job. And I'm going to pass my threading wire all the way through. So it's going through this side of this loopy part, as I call it, and through the hole in the center of that bar. And then you will just get your thread like so. Sorry, fiddly. And then you will just pull it all the way through carefully like that. And then obviously you will have your thread on your thread stand, and then this will go through this mechanism here and then lead off to the front of the machine. Now, since my machine has been converted into a more portable format, all I'm going to be doing is I'm going to put my bobbin on this thread stand here, and then I'm going to hook my thread through this hook here. Now, whether you're using this threading guide because you've got a thread stand, or whether you're putting your thread onto this thread spike here, you should always hook your thread through this hook, and it leads to the back of the machine where the tension unit and everything is. I've zoomed you into the tension unit so you can see better how it threads. Okay, so once we've hooked our thread over the hook at the top of the machine, we then need to run our thread through this part of the tension unit here. So what I do is I hook it in, feed the thread underneath the little spring, and then out the other side. Can you see? So that is now under the tension spring and out the other side. The next thing is we need to work our thread around our tension unit. So with the Willcox Gibbs, you actually have to run the thread around twice through the tension unit. So we put it through once, bring it round the back of the machine, then bring it round again, and then we're ready to pass our thread through this little hole here. Now you can either do this by eye, or once again you can use your threading device. I'm just going to do it by eye, and we bring it through to the other side. And now your thread is leading to the front of the sewing machine. So what we need to do next is we need to push our thread through and round the edge of this ring here. It needs to go over the top of this piece here and then through this groove here. So we literally take hold of our thread, lift it up, and there's like a cutout piece to this round frame here, and we can literally just slot our thread around the back of it so it sits between the two discs, over the little knob there, and then through that groove there, like so. Once we've got our thread through the discs, what we next need to do is pass our thread through this little thread guide here, okay, which is another hole. There's lots of holes on this machine to thread through. So you thread it through the thread guide there, and now we're ready to thread our needle. So what we need to remember on this machine is that the needle will thread from the left to the right, it can be a little bit fiddly because the holes on the needles are very, very small. So yeah, so we thread through the left to the right, and then we have to thread it through the foot because this foot doesn't have the groove all the way up as modern feet do. It's kind of got a little groove, and then there's a metal bar, and then there's the hole. So we need to put our thread through this back hole like so. And now it's time to do our bobbin case. Now the initial part of the bobbin case for the Willcox and Gibbs, it comes in 2 halves. Okay, so this is our bobbin. We need to make sure our thread is pulling off in this direction, can you see? And then we take our bobbin case, we put our bobbin into our bobbin case, run the thread through the groove and around the back of the tension spring like so. And then the next thing we need to do is we need to pass our thread through that tiny little hole there so it pops out the other side. Can you see? There we go, get it in focus, and then it comes out this side here. Okay, so we take the end of our thread and we just pass it through that little hole. It is fiddly. Okay, there we go. And it goes all the way through there. And now we're ready to put our bobbin and our bobbin case into the sewing machine. So now we're going to fit our bobbin case and bobbin into the machine. You need to make sure your needle is in the up position. There's a small lever on the side of here that you press and it will click open. And then we need to very carefully insert our bobbin case onto this side of the bobbin mechanism. Okay, to make sure our thread, like I say, is sitting facing towards us. And then we carefully close this mechanism like so, and that is your bobbin and bobbin case loaded into the machine. So now we need to get our bobbin thread up onto the top of the sewing machine. So this machine, it does turn in an anti-clockwise direction. That's the way it was made. That's the way the flywheel turns. So I'm going to hand turn the wheel anti-clockwise. So we pick up that thread from underneath and we pull it to the top and then pull the ends through. And there we are. That's our machine all threaded up and ready to sew. I hope you've enjoyed this video on how to thread the Willcox and Gibbs high-speed lock stitch machine. If you have any questions, please drop them below. I will be doing future videos on this machine, a beginner's guide to it, because it has got some interesting little features for when you're using it. So yeah, if you subscribe and click the bell notification to my channel, you will obviously get notified when that video goes live. You take care. I look forward to seeing you all again soon, and bye for now.